Welcome to Adventure, an e-commerce podcast that isn't just about numbers and profits. It's about the visionaries who have carved their path, navigated challenges, and left an indelible mark on the e-commerce landscape. So get ready to be inspired, informed, and immersed in the world where innovation meets commerce. Joining us today is John Tilley. I'm so excited about this. John Tilley, the co-founder and CEO of ZonGuru, a technology toolset that helps e-commerce brands and agencies scale on Amazon through data intelligence and automation. And before ZonGuru, John spent 15 years working as an advertising strategist for some of the top digital agencies in Johannesburg, London, and Los Angeles. In 2014, he also launched multiple successful private label brands on Amazon, which started his path to launching ZonGuru. His plan is to keep ZonGuru's momentum going by making fast decisions and staying focused on what's important, because as the saying goes, life is meaningless until you give it meaning. So welcome, John.
Geez, who wrote that? Wow.
It's brilliant. And then also joining in on the conversation will be Joseph Phillips, account manager with BidX. Joe has a passion for all things e-commerce, and at BidX, he handles ad strategy for enterprise clients in the US. So welcome, John and Joe. I'm super excited to dig in. So John, our very first question, what inspired you to venture into the Amazon e-commerce industry? What we're really looking for is just your journey of like building and scaling your business. What were some of the challenges that you faced, and your personal insights into how you overcome those challenges?
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys. This is a really cool name for a podcast, and yeah, I appreciate the fresh take on our industry. So happy to share and ask whatever questions you want. Hopefully, I'll give you answers that help. But yeah, when I started, I guess I would answer that by talking about starting my entrepreneurial journey. I always refer to it as having, and I say entrepreneurial weird anyway, but I call it entrepreneurial FOMO. I think that's just a theme that I've always had over my career. I had a very kind of high-flying career in the agency world with a lot of blue chip brands, and I always had an underlying feeling of like I needed to start my own business, but it was quite difficult to make the jump. I had some ideas, but you're so busy with your day-to-day that it was really hard to figure out the move, right? And it came later in life, like probably 12 years after being in the agency world. I had a few kind of side things I was doing, but when I ran into Amazon at a conference in Vegas, and I think it was 2013, that's where the penny dropped for me. I was like, oh, this is a real opportunity to scale a product-based business, and let me give it a go. And so that was my start, and it was difficult because there had to be a lot of self-learning around how to figure out how to take small, incremental, consistent steps, daily, weekly, and build that business on the side. But once I figured that out and I managed to just take one step at a time, I quickly had a product that I could launch and was really successful with that. And I think it just, once that happened for me, and it happened very quickly, I was, within a few months of being live, I was doing, I don't know, 70, 80,000 a month kind of thing. I was like, this is an amazing, insane opportunity, and I was very passionate about it. Having a platform where you literally could be from any country, any background, and it'd be a one-man show, and create that kind of revenue without me or customers, me or suppliers or whatever, was just amazing. So I got passionate about it, and through that process, and my agency background, I saw a lot of software at the time, and I was just like, this is data for the sake of data, and garbage in is garbage out, right? And so I saw the opportunity to create a software that really focused on getting access to the right data, but more importantly, answering the right business questions. And I felt I could do a better job with that. And so we started ZonGuru, and our road to market was developing software for a community of sellers and wannabe sellers under a community called Reliable Education, which is based out of Australia at the time. They've got a global, they have a global audience, but they were learning how to take advantage of this opportunity, and and my job was to create the software that they would use to validate and scale their businesses. So that was my path to getting going with ZonGuru back in end of 2016 was when it started.
It's really, there's a couple of interesting things I really think that you said. One, even though you had wanted to scale up kind of prior to that, do you think that you could have, or do you think it was one of those things where you really needed to kind of like go through everything that you went through, and then when the time was right and the opportunity presented itself, you were like, yeah, this is it. You just knew.
I think it was, as normal things are, it's a confluence of things. I think there were things in my personal life that I wanted to change in certain ways. I had when that opportunity came, I had a lot more, I guess, motivation to want to make it happen. But I think I mentioned it. It's kind of like this. I think my success on Amazon was a lot of the unlearning that I needed to do, right? And when I say the unlearning, previous to that, and because of my background and being in marketing and everything, you come up with these ideas and you think you have to create this insane, amazing business plan that solves everything for you before you even jump ship and start that business. And typically, that obstacle that you put in place and that big step that you have to take creates inaction, and then you kind of lose the opportunity to do that business, or you lose faith in it, right? And I think the unlearning that I had to do, especially and it was given to me through the opportunity with Amazon, is you have to have a vision for what your business is, but the quickest way to failure is to create a business plan, in my opinion, right? And a lot of people do that, and it's like, what you need to do is have the vision, and you're saying, hey, I'm gonna, in a year and a half's time, I'm gonna have this amazing Amazon business. But then you kind of break that down into small chunks and steps that you can take until you reach what you need to do this week. And that's all you need to focus on, is I need to do something this week. I don't even have to think about a freaking Facebook marketing plan, because I'm not anywhere near that. I need to think about, how do I find like 3 or 4 in terms of a product, and that's what I need to do this week. And then when I've done that, I look at my list and I do the next thing next week. And it was that kind of like unlearning of like, I didn't need to solve, and create this Ferrari of a brand. I needed to figure out, that's down the road. What I need to do right now is find some viable opportunities, and then do if it's 1 hour a day, great. If 1 hour seems like an obstacle, I just do 10 minutes, and that's what got me really going. And pretty soon, I'd created a business. So that's one of the biggest learnings I had during that whole process, is like, sometimes all the time we overthink things. We put obstacles in our way. And that can be an excuse not to do something. And the real way to get action is to understand what those obstacles are, and then break them down until they aren't obstacles anymore. And that could be a tiny chunk of something, but then just do that, right? And then move on to the next thing. And that was the big thing that managed to get me to building the business.
Yeah, so like you should be like endorsed by Nike, right? Just do it.
Yeah, exactly, 100%. Yeah, but
it does spark into one of my favorite, kind of philosophy and saying, which is, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time, right? So when you're faced with those super overwhelming things that you think there's no way I can, all the stars have to align, not necessarily, right, is your advice. So I think that's really good advice.
Yeah, and I framed it as this idea called milestones, which is like, it's not looking at milestones, it's milestones. So you kind of plot out your basic milestones, but then you break those down into sizable pieces and milestones, right? Yeah,
it's like personal project management, sort of, in a way.
Yeah, simple. It's got to land in your head, and you've got to actually understand it.
So given that, and your expertise on selling on Amazon, how do you, as a business owner now and leader, how do you stay ahead of the competition? How do you adapt to emerging market trends? Have you ever come up with, a situation where there was, a market like shift in the market and had to like pivot? And how do you handle that?
Yeah, I mean, our space is so dynamic, and Amazon, as big as they are, they certainly don't get a lot of things right, and they don't necessarily support their service providers in the best way possible. So there's always pivots, there's always obstacles that are coming our way, curveballs. one of the things that I guess, and we also are in an extremely competitive space, with pretty much some of the biggest known software providers in the space are our major competitors, right? So, with teams that are 10 times our size, whatever. So we've got a formidable way of being able to, pathway that we have to navigate. I think one of the things that give us an advantage is right from the beginning, because of my background and what I did, I knew that, especially in today's world, every person on your team does have a side gig or should have a side gig, right? There's space in our lives to be able to do that. And if people are going to have their side gig, and I'm so passionate about the Amazon space, and we obviously are involved in Amazon software, why don't they have an Amazon business as their side gig? So we've always incentivized our team to be sellers. We incentivize them financially to do it by helping them with their first order of stock. And over the years, that's benefited us from having key people in leadership positions actually being sellers. So if you're working on your business and you're working on our business, the insights and the way forward is clear, right? And so you'll see that in our products. We truly understand what we're trying to solve for, and we have an approach of being as impactful as we can with our tools and as efficient. So I think that's one of the things that gives us an advantage. The other thing is just being nimble in your having smart people. Our biggest value is curiosity. So it is a self-learning, self-driven environment. We look for the right kind of people who are curious to solve problems. That keeps us fast and nimble. We've embedded some processes to help us be nimble in a fast-moving tech world. Traction is one of the better books that I've implemented. Many business people have implemented. That's about having developed big rocks, slingshots. How do you focus on the things that matter most and move through them? So these are the kind of things that I think over time help you to be fast and nimble. And I guess the last point there I would just say for now is taking that same approach of not overthinking and developing the Ferrari from the start. How do you build your MVP that solves a major problem, but isn't perfect? And how do you bring that to market, and then you get feedback on that and you develop it and you move it forward over time, right? So those are kind of the things that we implement on our side.
Yeah, I mean, some of those best lessons learned are because you have your hands in the sandbox, right? So, one trend definitely among everybody that I've spoken with is so many companies start with people that really just were in it and were faced with a problem and wanted to solve that problem. So, identifying those market trends, there's no better way than really just being in it and seeing what's going on.
Yeah.
Okay, so here's a fun question. If you could switch roles with any colleague for a day, whose role would you choose and why?
I mean, probably I don't know. There's many answers there, but probably one of our lead developers. I'm not a developer, and I certainly can hold a conversation on that level, and I think I pride myself in being able to understand their roles and what they do, but I've never actually been in code, and that's definitely that kind of thing would most likely not be my strength, but I think that would be pretty interesting to see and be able to do that. I've just never been able to. So being a developer for a few days, I think would certainly benefit me, and I'm sure would certainly benefit my team more, because I'd understand their job a little better.
I would venture to say I don't think anybody on the dev team would want to switch with you though, John.
Oh God, yeah.
What about technology? So how do you encourage a culture of innovation within your organization? What role does data-driven decision-making play in optimizing your business ops or enhancing customer experiences? We are seeing, technology or the advent of new features and technology really changing the game. So not only how do you sort of use that in your organization, but do you foresee the next 5-10 years? What do you see as changes for tech as it relates to e-commerce?
think if anybody could predict what's going to happen in 5 years, that'd be gazillionaires right now, right? It's moving so fast. But yeah, look, I guess the number one answer there is the culture you build of the value of the type of people you bring into the organization. As I said, like our major value that we screen for is curiosity, and you pick that up really quickly, right? You can have an interview with someone and you'll pretty much figure out quite quickly, are they curious and passionate and want to solve a problem, whatever that is, or are they just, do they prefer to take direction, right? And I think we lean on the former, and that's helps us like solve for the right questions, right? And technology at the end of the day is about getting different questions, different information, different ways of doing things, and you've got this baseline kind of area of expertise, and then it's about like, how do you follow your nose to sort those out? And those are the people that really thrive. And so that's how that's generally what leads us from a tech perspective. Clearly being in the fire pit and talking to your customers, whatever they may be, and understanding their challenges and solving it, being the target audience as well by having sellers. Like, these are all things that help to bring in the different kinds of problems that we want to solve with tech, and then having a really good, strong product process to validating the problems, and then figuring out how to solve them and building out a roadmap. So I think those are things that we do well. I think one of the challenges there is that, especially the way that we've built us, is that we've got a lot of problems to solve because we're a pretty broad set of tech, right? We're not just a specific solution for a specific problem. We're an operational tool set with a bunch of different tools, and that's a very big challenge to handle. So those are some of the things that we're trying to figure out how we can be more focused on our direction. And then it's just about jumping on ideas and building in a culture of being able to be open-minded, right? Tie the sunglasses on, let's see what it looks like, let's do some brainstorming, let's take it a little bit further, and then through data especially, and that process, validate whether something is worthwhile pursuing or not. I mean, we were literally the world's first Amazon software to integrate with ChatGPT back in January of this year. So we launched our beta first. We jumped on it. And that was just a process of like, hey, I saw it come in November. I was like, hey, this is a big thing. Sitting down, trying to get time with our developers who are focused on a bunch of other things, and just saying, hey, let's just have an open brainstorm to see what it is, and that got them going enough to go, oh, this is really worthwhile. And then we launched our product pretty quick. So we're still industry lean there, but that's the tech world, right? And I guess you've got to, the more clearly focused your direction is, and the more experts you have in that area, and if you build in a culture of continuous learning, you should be able to keep up.
Well, it definitely sounds like you guys have embraced that over at ZonGuru for sure.
Yeah. And maybe the last point on that is not getting overwhelmed, right? Because there's just so much going on all the time. You've got to sometimes take a breath and say, hey, let's just take our step one at a time, right?
Narrow the focus a little bit, right?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Yeah.
Well, I just have one more question for you, and then allow you some time to talk about your company or your latest project. And since the name of our podcast is Adventure, I'm going to ask you, what is the most adventurous thing that you've done, John?
Cool. Well, yeah, I've done a lot over the time. I guess I'm always open to.
I got that sense about you.
Yes, I'm open to doing whatever. One of the cool things from a picture perspective that I've got is I'd actually did it with two other sellers. I went to Seattle Sea Fair. This is maybe 3-4 years ago, and one guy there was like, he was like, hey, we can go do this wing walking on a plane. And I was like, what is that? He was like, well, basically it's a biplane, and they you get in the plane and you take off, and then you literally walk out onto the top wing and you strap yourself in, and they do a bunch of flips. So that was pretty wild. You know, I don't even think it's, at the time I didn't feel it was legal, and I think today they definitely wouldn't be legal. So that was pretty adventurous, I would say. You know, those were good
I
things.
would say it was very adventurous.
Yeah.
Just one strap. That's all they used.
Yeah, it was just. I mean, it was just like this contraption you had on the top, and you had to literally climb out of the plane while it was flying, and then, you know, get onto the top of the top wing, and then strap your waist in, and then he starts doing some crazy flips. And I did realize after I did that with the limited training that I had, that at that moment I didn't really tighten the strap too much. So you know, thank goodness the G-forces kept me in there. Anyway, so you know, those were some fun times. Yeah, so I got the picture, which is good.
I mean, I'm sweating just hearing you talk about it. So I can only imagine. That will definitely not be on my bucket list, but definitely it sounds like there is something inside of you that propels you to do these adventurous things and live life with passion and zest. So hats off to you.
No, thank you. Yeah, no, it's a little bit more limited with the, you know, the stage of life I'm in, and you know, I've got 2 young kids, so you know, you can't be that crazy, but it was fun at the time.
Yeah. So if there's anything else you'd like to add, John, now is the time before we wrap up here. Would love to hear about any of your latest work, what you guys are working on right now.
Yeah, look, I mean, at a high level, you know, we're an operational tool set with 18 tools for, you know, focused around sellers, and specifically the core audience of private label sellers. So, you know, everything from product validation through to dashboard insights through to the SEO piece, and for sure we're industry leading on the SEO piece around keyword intelligence and you know, listing optimization, and you know, ensuring that you have the best listing on page one, and obviously AI plays an important piece in that to help you with your baseline as fast as possible. So you know, that's really where we have focused. The main core audience beyond that is agencies. So we do have a product for agencies, you know, specialist agencies that are managing clients. That's probably our strongest market fit. You know, I think typically agencies that have 20 or more clients, the way that our tool is just better at finding opportunities, but as I said before, like answering the right questions and being very efficient and scalable. And you know, when you're an agency and you're managing a bunch of different clients, and your account manager's time is precious, having something that does things in a more impactful and faster way is just, you know, is just incredibly valuable. So we have a very strong fit there, and that is our focus. And it's also our focus because when you're solving problems at the agency level, it's a trickle-down effect to our brands anyway, right? They're using the same. We're just solving more complex problems, but everyone's benefiting. So we do focus a lot there, and you know, yeah, we've got some pretty cool tools that are coming out, and some reporting features. And yeah, I think, you know, everyone here is in our space, right? And as big as Amazon is, you know, our industry is still evolving. There's massive opportunity. It's a pretty new industry, you know, just knowing that agencies are just, you know, they're only a couple of years old, right? You know, in our space, you know, there's still massive opportunity to solve there, and it's going to grow. So as many players that there are in our agency, there's a massive opportunity, and yeah, we're looking forward to solving those for sure.
Amazing. Sounds great. So I just want to thank you, John and Joe, once again for the interview. We hope the valuable insights shared have inspired you. If you'd like more info, you can go to ZonGuru.com, and be sure to subscribe to the Adventure Podcast for more thought-provoking interviews with prominent business leaders in the future. Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you.
All right, take care.